My name is Ryan. I'm 34 years old, living alone in a small apartment in a neighborhood of Los Angeles. Working as a software engineer, they live simply without showing off. For the past 6 years, I've been quietly saving every penny with a dream to open a book cafe named after my mom, who passed away when I was in college. My younger sister, Mia, 28 years old, is getting married. Her fiance is Kevin, a guy who used to work in real estate but has been unemployed for almost 3 months. Since he lost his job, Kevin has been frequently at my parents' house, and of course, Mia also moved back home to be convenient for wedding planning. Everything started yesterday morning. I received a notification from the bank about a large transaction. Opening the app, my savings account, where I had nearly $1 million, now had less than 15,000. I almost dropped the iced latte in my hand. Only one question remained in my head. Who did this? I drove straight to my parents' house in the suburbs. As soon as I entered, I saw Maya sitting with my parents holding a wedding dress catalog. Her eyes indifferent, I went straight to her. "Where's my money?" Mia looked up, not at all surprised. "Your family, right? Consider it your contribution to my wedding." I froze. "You took almost $1 million from me. You call that a contribution?" My dad interjected. "You live alone. What do you need that money for? Mia is your sister. Her wedding needs to be proper. Kevin's family isn't poor either. If you can help, you should." My stepmom was gentler but no less firm. "After all the years we supported your education, now it's time for you to give back a little to the family." I almost couldn't believe my ears. For 6 years, I had lived frugally, skipping outings, refusing vacations, all just to fulfill a small dream. Now, everything had evaporated because of a wedding I wasn't even consulted about. "I'm going to report this to the police," I said, my voice choked but firm. Mia jumped up, slamming her hand on the table. "You're such a loser. All you know is how to make money and hoard it like a rat." "No one took it. I'm using it for my wedding. Your name will even be on the invitation." I took out my phone and turned on the recorder. "Say that again, Mia. You just said you used my money for your wedding. I want to record it." My stepmom yelled, "Don't make a big deal out of this. Recording family." I just looked at her. If family steals from each other, what's left to call family? Then I walked out of the house. My mind was blank, but in my heart, a new resolve had just ignited. I was no longer the weak older brother seen as a walking ATM. From now on, I would live for myself and the family. If they chose to side with the person who stole my hard-earned money, they would have to bear the consequences. After leaving the house, I didn't go straight back to my apartment. I drove aimlessly through the streets of Los Angeles. My mind was racing, not because of the lost money, but because of the lost trust, something I had built for so many years with my family. I stopped at a small roadside coffee shop. Ordering an iced black coffee, I sat watching the cars go by. In my heart, the jumble of thoughts gradually transformed into something very clear. I had to act, but not with angry shouts or demanding texts, but with the law and intelligence. I called an old friend, Sarah, who worked as a civil lawyer. When I told her the story, she sighed. "Family matters can often be worse than suing strangers, Orion. But if you don't stand up for yourself, they'll think your silence means acceptance." I nodded. Her words hit me like a bucket of cold water. The next day, I worked with the bank, freezing all accounts, transferring the remaining funds to another bank. I changed all my email passwords, online accounts, and especially changed my phone number, cutting off all contact with the people who had once called me a burden. I filed a police report along with the evidence, the audio recording, account statements, and transaction confirmation messages from the bank. Even though I knew they might not face criminal charges, at least I wanted them to know I was no longer the obedient Ryan of the past. 3 days later, I received the first text message from Mia. Not an apology, but blame. "Why are you making such a big deal out of this? It's embarrassing for the whole family. Mom and Dad are stressed because of you. Stop being so selfish." I didn't reply. I forwarded that message to my lawyer. A week later, the wedding was canceled. Kevin, the fiancé, after learning the source of the wedding funds, had left without a word. Rumors spread quickly through the neighborhood. People started talking. As for me, I still went to work, still wrote code, still drank coffee alone every morning. What I lost was trust. But what I regained was my self-injustice. Rumors about the canceled wedding spread like wildfire through the old apartment buildings along the small alley where my family lived. The neighbors sat on their porches, sipping iced tea and whispering, Heard the groom left because the bride took her brother's money for the wedding without asking. Some online sellers even posted cryptic statuses. Live without respect, and in the end, you'll have nothing left. I remained silent, not a single explanation on social media, not a single rebuttal. I let it be and let them feel it. My family began to feel the pressure. Dad, the one who had called me selfish, now called relatives to explain. My stepmom, the one who had coldly watched me leave, now quietly went to church every day to pray for peace in Mia. My sister had to lock her Facebook and Instagram accounts due to the barrage of online attacks. The close friends who had excitedly discussed wedding dresses also disappeared, leaving her alone in a suffocating and stressful house. One afternoon, I was working when the doorbell rang. Opening it, I saw Dad. He stood there, his face gaunt, holding a grocery bag with fruit in a paper envelope. I didn't come to apologize, he began. I just wanted you to know. You did the right thing, and I was wrong. But can you give me a chance to make things right? I didn't answer immediately. I invited him in and poured him a glass of water. Dad looked around the small apartment. Then he said softly like a breeze, "When I was poor, I taught you to endure. But the more I endured, the more I got used to others sacrificing for me. Until you stopped enduring, I didn't realize how unreasonable I had been." I looked at Dad. In his eyes, there was no longer any imposition but regret, and I understood some forgiveness doesn't need to be spoken. People just need to see their own mistakes. I didn't drop the lawsuit, but I withdrew the criminal charges, only keeping the civil suit to recover the unpaid money, as a way to remind them that mistakes must be corrected with actions, not just words. The next day, I sat at the same roadside coffee shop, still with my iced black coffee as usual. But this time I smiled, not because I had won, but because in the end, I hadn't lost myself. A month after the incident, I officially signed the lease for the book cafe, the dream I had cherished for so long. The small two-story building on a quiet street wasn't too big, but it had large windows facing the trees, enough light to arrange some bookshelves, a small coffee counter, and a few simple wooden tables. I named the cafe Slow Bloom as a reminder to myself. Slow down a little, breathe deeper, and find peace amidst the busyness of life. Every morning, I woke up early to brew coffee, wipe the counter, and then put on soft music, from classic folk to indie acoustic. The first customers were old friends, some former colleagues from the tech company I used to work at. Then came strangers who became regulars. Some came to read, some to write, some simply wanted to escape the hectic world for a while. I ran into Kevin, Mia's former fiancé, one rainy afternoon. He walked into the cafe soaked, holding a portfolio. I was surprised, but then I took the initiative to greet him. "Sit down. Want something to drink? Black coffee or a latte?" He smiled hesitantly. "I'll have an iced coffee with milk. It's been a while since I had coffee, but today I wanted to try yours." We didn't talk about the past. We just sat there silent, like two people who had gone through the same ordeal without resentment. Before leaving, he left a business card. "I'm a freelance marketing consultant now. If the cafe needs online marketing support, just call me." I held the business card, feeling relieved. Not every broken relationship has to end in bitterness. One late evening, I received a text message from my stepmom. "The cafe is beautiful, son. I saw the video. If you agree, can I visit your cafe this weekend?" I didn't reply immediately, but the next morning, I cleared a small corner in the cafe, adding an extra chair. Not to wait, but to be ready. Some things don't need grand gestures. You just need to be calm enough to rebuild, brick by brick, book by book, cup by cup. My stepmom came that Saturday afternoon just as the rain stopped, a light jacket still damp with a few raindrops. She didn't come with Dad, nor did she bring flowers or gifts, just a small loaf of sweet potato cake in her hand and a hesitant look like someone who had just found their way back. I greeted her with a gentle smile. Not too intimate, not too distant, just enough to say I was willing, but not forgetting. She sat down in the chair I had prepared by the window. I poured her a cup of jasmine tea, then returned to the counter. Not asking, not probing. The cafe was quieter than usual that day, as if all sounds were giving way to our unspoken conversation. After a long while, Mom spoke. "Ryan, I'm sorry. Back then, I was wrong about you. I just thought you would never leave the family, no matter what." I didn't reply immediately. I poured more tea, then placed a small slice of cake on the plate in front of her. I know Mia was wrong too, but you taught me that people need to be protected even within the family. I looked up at Mom. In that moment, I saw that her hair had turned much grayer than the last time I had looked closely, and I felt my heart soften. Family, no matter what happens, it's still family, I said slowly. But you also have to understand I'm no longer the child who always stays silent. She nodded, her eyes red-rimmed. No tears, just the emotional gaze of a mother who had finally learned to listen. When she stood up to leave, I walked her to the door. She turned back and said, "When you have the official opening, remember to let me know." I nodded. "You and Dad will be the first guests." Afterward, I sat alone by the window looking at the empty chair where Mom had just sat. Outside, the wind began to blow gently again. The bougainvillea in front of the cafe swayed, dropping a few delicate pink petals, like a silent thank you, and I knew a new journey was beginning. Not with anger, but with forgiveness. Not to go back, but to move forward with stronger feet. If you have listened to the very end of this story, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Some hurts in the family don't come from words, but from the silence when people choose to side with what's wrong. But it is from those unspoken things that we learn to grow, learn to stand on our own, and learn to forgive. Not to go back to the way things were, but to live better, stronger. Ryan's story may be just a small glimpse, but I believe somewhere in each of us there's an empty chair in our heart for a loved one who once hurt us and whom we once waited for to return with kindness. If you have ever been in that situation, please leave a comment below, because perhaps someone needs to hear your story. And if you think stories like this deserve to be told, deserve to be shared, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join me in continuing to tell very Vietnamese, very human, very real memories. Thank you. See you in the next video.